billion of unfunded tax cuts, when you said the market spiralling, mortgage rates going through the roof, and completely discredited your party in the economy. That is the mess that we're having to deal with. That's why this is an honest budget. Did I want that inheritance? Absolutely not.
Well, you may well have wanted, and we shouldn't just look backwards, Darren, because you are in government, and to govern...
That's why we're making the choices.
No, that's right.
What's your choice? What would you do instead?
You inherited...
What would you do instead?
You inherited...
What would you do instead?
I'll let you rant.
Well, tell the audience your choice.
You inherited an economy where inflation had come down from 11.1% to 2%, where interest rates were falling, and we were able to bring taxes down, and we presented balanced forecasts to the OBR that had, on the current fiscal rules that had good headroom in them.
Hang on, the OBR said there were figures that were not clear to them.
They said it was materially different because you were not transparent to the state of public finances.
No, that's
the language of the OBR report. I just quoted it.
It's simply not true. And the OBR speaking on the Today programme this morning on the BBC talked about how nobody should be using their figures and their words to legitimise what Darren has been talking about. In fact, there's no mention.
Okay, but you're using their words to legitimise what you're talking about. So let's just call a halt there for a minute, because this is one aspect of the budget we're talking about. There is a question on another aspect of the budget, and I want to get to it, and that is from Charles Louis or Lewis. I'm not sure how to say your name. Yes.
Will the billions being spent on NHS really fix the actual problems, such as lack of staff and lack of decent hospitals?
Right, so there's a £25 billion rise in the NHS budget over 2 years. That was what was announced yesterday. Manira.
Well, there are a lot of questions to be answered. It's an eye-watering amount of money. We haven't seen detail of how it's going to be spent. You asked about new hospitals. I mean, we promised 40 new hospitals which were a complete and utter fiction. We've not had any reassurance from the Labour government that those are going to be built. My concern is that if we want to try and fix the NHS, we've got to fix the front door and the back door. By the front door, I mean primary care, so investing in our GPs, pharmacies, dentists, and also in our public health to prevent people getting ill in the first place. So there's fewer people going into hospital. Then we've got to fix the back door, which means sorting out social care so that when people are well enough, they can be discharged. But there just aren't enough people, to your point, working in our social care sector. We need to boost their wages, and actually the employers' national insurance rise is going to put a lot of our social care providers under a lot of pressure, because the vast majority of social care providers, whether they're care homes, providing care in your own home, are private providers, and they are going to have to shoulder the burden of this national insurance rise. So I haven't heard anything on social care. We didn't get any commitment on public health. And we've yet to see the detail of how these billions are going to be spent. So whilst Liberal Democrats, as I say, campaigned on health and care, and Wes Streeting, when he got into office, said he had 72 Liberal Democrat pen pals because we were all writing to him about hospital projects and other health projects in our constituencies. So we consider a Lib Dem win that there was a strong focus on health. There's a lot of questions still to be answered, and we need to see that breakdown. We need to see investment in technology to make it much more efficient. We all know that NHS technology is dire at times.
Let me hear from the rest of that.
Okay, so NHS, Wes Streeting has taken over, and I actually think he's been very articulate. But I always judge people on what they do and not what they say, and it's early days. But he says the system's broken, but he's going to fix it. So it has to be welcomed. £23 billion into 25. Okay, I've got the numbers wrong. 25, but if you put 25 billion into a system that's broken and expect different results, that's the definition of insanity. And therefore, I mean, what I've spent my life doing is going into companies that are usually broken, and I go and listen to the people who are doing the work, and they don't really know what it's for. And then we just sack the people above, the directors, and we run with it. So I understand that Wes has looked around the world. I think there's been lots of good reports from very prominent people, but now the hard job is to manage 1.5 million people. That is almost impossible. This is the hardest job in government, is manage the NHS. What I would like to see, I would like to see a hypothecated tax for the NHS.
So a specific part of everyone's tax
Yeah.
to go directly for the NHS and only for the NHS.
Absolutely, and I actually agree that those with the broadest shoulders should carry the heaviest burden, of course. And I would like to see a tax specifically for the NHS and then hold government to account. Because let's face it, this system we have of hardworking people grow their businesses, the government taxes, government tax you and me, and then they decide how to spend it. The government, and this is not a party political statement, but governments are not very good at spending our money. In this budget, 11.8 billion has been set aside for the blood scandal, 1.8 billion has been set aside for the Horizon scandal, both terrible scandals. 700 million was wasted in Rwanda. There was a 10 billion IT project way back 2011. Interestingly, guess which company the IT system was? It was Fujitsu, who also put in the Horizon system. I think somebody should be knocking at their door for the money. But imagine if the government had done those things better, they wouldn't be coming to us and taxing us for all this money. We could afford the nurses, the doctors, the frontline care staff. So I'm worried once we give governments our money, what they do with it.
Let me hear a little bit. In the white t-shirt, yes.
What do you feel is that every government that comes in, they have some other reason or some other idea for the NHS service. Do we not think that rather than keeping the NHS as a political pawn in politics, can we not do something that's more bipartisan or maybe a civil assembly?
Okay. Man behind you in the white t-shirt.
I just find it really depressing watching you two thrash it out.
So you're talking about Darren and Andrew here?
Darren and Andrew.
They're very fond of each other.
Apparently they're great mates.
Well, yeah. I'd hate to see someone you don't get on with. But my entire life, boom and bust. Whenever there's a change from Tory to Labour, Labour will come in, Tory will come in, like Cameron did in 2010, and the Labour lot left the note saying, there's no money left. Then the Tories smash the economy and Labour come in and say, we've got to fill this 40 billion, 9 billion, 22 billion, changes by the day. Who knows? Who knows how big this black hole is? And then you've got the arrogance of the Tory chap there saying, we were doing a great job on inflation and all the rest of it. You trashed the economy and it was starting to just about recover. Don't take any credit, that is disingenuous. I do not understand how out of 65 million people, or however many people there are in this country, we end up with economically illiterate people in the government. Boom and bust, boom and bust. Not fit for office, these people. This is our money. I'm sick of being asked to pay more and more and more. I feel poorer than I did 15 years ago. Pay more and more to get less and less. And with regards to the NHS, you can tip as much money in it as you want. The definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over and again and expecting a different result. You can tip all the money in the world in there. Nothing will change.
Okay. I'm tempted to say, why don't you just get off the fence? We hear you. Craig.
Well, look, I think
I mean, that's very powerful stuff.
it is powerful stuff, but I do think, to be fair to West Streeting, they are saying, look, it's time for there